Our state remains in the national spotlight for the crippling impact of this winter weather on our utility infrastructure. Governor Abbott and Senator Cruz also facing criticism this week, as many Democrats believe this is a way to undermine their reelection efforts. Abbott is up in 2022, Cruz in 2024.
So David Stein joins us now live. So David, first of all, I just watched Casablanca last week, and of course there's that great line, round up the usual suspects. So you know you're the Republican chair. Here comes the usual question about the Cruz trip, but once again, those who are crowing about that don't seem to be talking too much about it in your home state of New York, the Como nursing home squabble. So I guess it depends on whose ox is being gored, right?
Well, it really is part of what we call the cancel culture, and it's just amazing. And this is politics at its worst. You do something I don't like, you should resign, and it's ridiculous. I mean, should he have gone? You know what? Probably not. But he was gone 24 hours. He was constantly on his phone, in touch with the resources that he needed. The Senate was not in session. They were dismissed. So there really wasn't anything for him to do other than, and I get it, if you ought to be out there and get a photo op or something like that, I mean, you can do that. But he was in touch and doing the things that he should be doing behind the scenes. But the fact that he took his family, out of the country, I don't have a problem with it. I think it's just being blown way out of proportion. And to your point, yeah, I mean, the situation in New York and others is horrendous.
Mm-hmm. Now, talking about Governor Abbott for a second here, yesterday he said that ERCOT told him before this polar vortex came down that they were prepared, and clearly, obviously, they were not. What kind of blame do you think Governor Abbott should take on this whole debacle that we're in right now?
That's a great question. Should he, as Colonel West said earlier, trust but verify? I just don't think that somebody is going to know everything that is going on. It's not possible. Could he, should he? Possibly. But the whole thing we need to do right now is we need to fix the problem. Let's figure out the blame, all in for full accountability. And honestly, if he is to blame, it's still going to be up to the voters in the polls in 2022. But, Rahm Emanuel's famous comment comes to mind where he said, never let a good crisis go to waste. And this is just another example. Oh, here's a mistake. Here's something. Everybody should quit. The Democrats don't have answers either. They're great at hysteria. They're great at blowing things up out of proportion. And as soon as it's a Republican, it's, oh, gotcha. I'm frustrated with it. I'm tired of it, and I wish they would come up with real solutions to some of the problems that we're having and stop playing this ridiculous blame game.
What about the governor's job during this crisis, Mr. Stein? Because he did say yesterday, I'm the one to blame. The buck stops here. He said that right there in Austin. And also he said 5 days before this cold snap hit us, ERCOT told him they're good to go. They're fine.
Yeah, and if your field general tells you everything is good and we're good to go, you're going to trust that person. If he does take blame, I don't know what that penalty should be. It's still going to be up to the voters in 2022. I think they have to look at how ERCOT operates. I know there's obviously breakdown in communications that happen from there, but those are things that are happening way above my pay grade. I hope they can work it out. I hope that they can figure it out. We've got a lot of Texans who have been in very bad situations this whole entire week. But there's also a lot of good that I've seen through this, and people out in the streets talking to their neighbors, people helping one another, people volunteering. And that's the kind of thing that we need to be talking about also, is that the way that a lot of Texans have banded together to help one another. Look, you guys have been rock stars. I've been watching you guys all week, and the way that you guys have worked 24/7, communicating with the community, keeping us informed of what's going on. I mean, on behalf of the citizens, I want to thank you guys and appreciate that.
We thank you. We're just doing our jobs. We are East Texans as well. We are part of the community. We are your neighbors. We're without power and water as well, so
our house
we want
is frozen
answers.
Too.
Yeah. Quickly before we go, though, I'd like to know your opinion. It's really easy to quickly criticize during a crisis situation, but how do you think overall the state has handled the response?
I can speak about Smith County. And I look at the way that the new mayor, that Don Warren, has handled things, our county judge, Nathaniel Moran, the communication has been outstanding. These guys have been out front, constantly letting people know what's going on. And I've seen it, from Governor Abbott as well. There's been constant press conferences. You wonder if these guys ever sleep. But I think that responding now, they're getting things fixed as quickly as possible. We're trying to get back to normal. I think people want to get back to work, just get back to some semblance of what normal was, or what it was at the time before we stopped. But I think for the most part that people are reacting and doing the things that are necessary and needed to do. I certainly want to see what happens next week. They're going to be talking about this, but I also don't want this problem to derail all of the important matters that they've got to handle at the state level, dealing with the budget and funding and education and healthcare and election integrity. Those are all things that are important. And the crisis this week shouldn't derail those. It's all got to be handled at the same time.
Dave, we're out of time. Thank you very much for your very valuable time. Come and be with us once again.
Yeah, thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks, Neil. Thanks, Casey. Good talking with you guys.
Yeah, likewise.